It's been a long off-season, hasn't it? Kind of a repetitive news cycle, convenient confessions, poorly defined legal events, the UCI claiming it can do no wrong while simultaneously failing to test people and smearing anyone who speaks against them. And honestly, how many times have you heard this one? What's the difference between Lance Armstrong and the classic hip-hop album, Illmatic? I know, right? Good thing we've got races to watch again. Early season events like Het Nieuwsblad are great for pro-fan solidarity. Superstars bundled in outerwear, battling the cold temps. Wonder if there's some sort of chart for this. Crashing themselves out with bungled jacket removal, dodging vehicles, and like this bunch here, lacking fitness and struggling to stay in touch, even in the early going. And can I ever relate to that? Sure, the start was fast, but the standard break still formed. No particularly important riders involved, but with matching leg warmers, gloves, and booties, one of the Cofidis riders, as the Twitterati noted, did look a bit like a lost speed skater. And while they never gave up more than a few minutes' advantage, the bunch seemed relaxed outside the occasional typical classics tie-up. It was Heinrich Hausler who made the first probing moves, gloveless I might add in Jens Factor 3 conditions, but it was a series of attacks over the Tyenberg and Eichenberg a few kilometers later that began to put major gaps into the field. By 49k to go, Sylvain Chavanel and Marco Bandiera were clear of the rest of the pack and bridging rapidly to the now staggering break. With the big names in the bunch showing relatively little interest in chasing, a host of second-tier favorites put in digs. First Luca Paolini, then Greg Van Avermaet, eventually winnowing out a chase of 6, including the Cofidis rider Egoitz Garcia. Look, I'm just going to print this because there are too many X's and Z's for him to be this far forward this late in the race. 30 seconds up the road, Chavanel eviscerated his companions over a sector of cobbles, and with strong teammates in each of the groups behind him, began a long-range solo move. Historically a very successful tactic for Quickstep. But over the day's final climb, Greg Van Avermaet's effort put such a dent into the Frenchman's advantage, he was inclined to freewheel back to the chase and let the cards reshuffle. At this point, describing the favorites as relaxed would be a bit of an understatement. At some 30 to 40 riders, their peloton lacked both the horsepower and the motivation to retake the escapees. And once Tom Bonin started grabbing and passing out water bottles at 33k to go, you could be pretty certain that the winner would come from the 10 riders now 2 minutes up the road. The final selection was made on the Lippehovenstraat. Watch as Luca Paolini slips just inside Martin Wijnands as they enter the pavé. He has a little bumpier ride for his effort, but the position becomes critical when the Cofidis Spaniard who led the bunch onto the stones falters and cuts back into the group, just as Steyn Vandenberg accelerates. Paolini, on the Omega Farmer's wheel by virtue of that corner, wavers but holds tough. Everyone else is caught behind. You just can't trust these high-scoring Scrabble names until at least late April. Paolini's mismatch as a breakaway companion wasn't limited to draft size. He has alarming finishing speed, and the duo's departure left only one real segment of cobbles, and the occasional sidewalk, for Vandenberg to leverage to an escape. While Omega Pharma did have Chavanel in the chase, it's unlikely the fatigued Frenchman would have offered much edge if things had come back together. Certainly Tom Bonin's gestures to the camera moto suggested his team preferred the situation as it was. Vandenberg did make an attack on some phony urban cobbles at 2.5k to go, but didn't get much out of it other than half-wheeled. Even in the final kilometer, the Belgian kept finding himself on the front, and there wasn't much to discuss once Paolini made his acceleration. Sven van Dusselaar, who'd been keeping his powder dry for the past 40k, led in the sprint for third, showing that despite the UCI's best efforts, the wildcard teams can hang. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won. Oh, yeah, the joke. Okay, so Illmatic is a bloody dope record, and Lance Armstrong is a terrible person. Nailed it.